Hello everyone, and welcome to our fourth Spotlight Q&A. This week we're having a chat with Deputy Head Campus Life, Liam Sullivan. Following up on our parent Q&A on Wednesday, there were a couple of questions that we didn't really get to, and actually a couple more that wanted to revisit today with all of you. So welcome Liam, and we're going to get to our very first question. One of the things that we often hear about is engagement here, and obviously it's a huge piece of what happens at school when the students are in. So what are house parents doing now to engage with students while we're in this very, hopefully, short new reality?
I guess it takes a little bit of context and to go back in time a little bit and frame it in the way that we would normally be doing things at Brentwood. And we believe in the boarding structure, and we believe that that's where the true magic happens, and the relationships that are fostered in the boarding house. And so, on a regular week, there'd probably be 2 or 3 times when house parents and duty staff would have an opportunity to sit down with their full contingent in their house and, go over many different types of meetings, and whether it was an educational meeting, whether it was organizational, whether it was structuring their week or special events that were taking place, providing the student voice as well, letting house captains talk about themes that are going on in the house. But oftentimes they were to do with the run-of-the-mill daily activities that were happening on campus. And since we've gone to the be online distance learning, we really had to try and shift that paradigm and actually come up with a way to really turn those meetings into more of a celebratory aspect of the week. And understanding that we're trying to limit screen time, we've made a shift to having one house meeting a week. We put it inside the academic day on the Wednesday. And it's really been amazing to me to see how our house parents and how our duty staff, and as always, how our students have taken that initiative and turned that time into really significant community building time. It's just a really incredible to see the community building that's happening in that small window of time once a week. And I just commend our house parents for being able to do that, and to really, if you pop in, if you're a parent at home and watch some of these house meetings, you'll see the gamut. You'll see the laughter, you'll see the tears. I know that my daughter, after they had one of their first house meetings, she came out crying and just, understanding how much they miss each other. And so, it's been an incredible addition to our academic week, is to having that time really strictly devoted to that house relationship.
So yeah, definitely that house parent engagement and house meetings are a huge piece of it. I know that in Privet House the other day, Mr. Neufeld took his camera or his laptop and went through all the different rooms, and the boys had a great time with that. So it is definitely a huge inflection point for them. What about student engagement beyond the regular programming, if you will? So beyond the academics, the arts, and the athletics pieces, what else are we doing to engage students? And in your mind, what are the most important sort of points of that as we've continued to go through our distance learning?
Yeah, I guess that's an easy sort of segue to start to think about, how is the school increasing the student engagement or giving opportunities for student engagement during this COVID-19 pandemic. And, we stated from the very beginning, when we went to a distance learning model, is that we wanted to try and create a virtual Brentwood experience. And so we devoted as much time, and are devoting as much time as we can, to the continuation of all of our school clubs and organizations that run behind the scenes to support our students, whether that's initiatives in the community, service initiatives, whether it's mental health initiatives. All of those things are still continuing to be run, and the meetings are still being held. And you can see some of those initiatives happening at our weekly assemblies. And I think I would really point towards the assembly as again, I use the term vessel when I was talking about the house meetings, but the assemblies really are the showcase where we get our school community together. And I'm watching the participant numbers every week in our assemblies, and we're routinely getting over 400 of our school community that are tuning in from all around the world, and staying up at night, getting up early in the morning to make sure that they're a part of that experience. And so we've really started to see some incredible things happening at that assembly.
Yes, assemblies have been fabulous, and you're right, the Clifton Murray one was great. The a cappella singing, all the work that Spark's done. So actually I'll remind all our parents and our viewers that they can go onto our YouTube channel to see a lot of the videos that you would see in assemblies, which, as you point out, Liam, have been a really important part of the student culture so far. Next question I have is around, it's more of a logistic question, and we did talk about it a little bit on Wednesday night, but for some parents who weren't able to tune in, what is the plan for kids being able to get, and families being able to get items from their rooms?
Just to remind our parents that, yes, the end of the year, we will be having a schedule for pickup of items. And it really is going to depend on where you are in terms of if you're a BC resident, if you can get here, if you're a neighboring province, then you can drive out and collect your son or daughter's things. We'll arrange that, and it's going to be a schedule that'll be set up through the house parents in June, and we'll be communicating that to all of our parents when we get closer to that time period. If you're someone that is overseas, or you're in a country that is, you're someone that has their travel restrictions imposed upon you, we'll work through those situations on a case-by-case basis, and we'll pack up rooms and we'll store things for as long as we need to. We'll do our best to ship everything that we can, and obviously looking at reasonable costs and cost benefit ratio, and have that discussion with each individual parent that's in those situations. But yes, we will be able to get all of those things done, and we know it's an important part of the end of the year. For some, it's closure, understanding that they're moving on and either going off to university, or maybe they're only here for a year. And for others, it may be more around just storing those items and keeping them in a safe place until they start school back up again next year.
Great. I think that those sort of things are certainly top of mind for a lot of our families. The last question I have for you is, and I always, use these words, and I think afterward maybe it wasn't the right word, but, what's been the most disappointing thing for you while we've been going through this new reality, and what has been the most surprising thing for you? And I know disappointing is a bit of a strange word, but maybe sort of the one that you least expected, that kind of thing.
So most disappointing thing, most uplifting thing. Really, fundamentally, I'm not someone who spends a lot of time in the disappointment aspect of life, because I think it's really what we make of these situations that we're in. But there's no doubt in my mind that the whole situation that we're in, the most disappointing thing about it is that I'm not going to work every day and connecting with the students and the staff that are my family, that I feel close to and connect to on a daily basis. That gives me that energy and the passion for the job. So that's disappointing to not have. But on the other hand, I think that you need to try and just be in the mindset of making this the best that we can possibly make it. And that's the truth of the matter, and it's the reality that we're all facing. And I guess I get back to the point that Clifton Murray made today in the assembly, and that's that this is a shared experience for everyone around the world right now. We are all faced with this reality, a new reality, and it's really about, how are we going to come out of it, and what are we going to learn from this? And really tough to get caught up in a woe is me attitude when this isn't something that's just happening to Liam Sullivan. This is something that's happening to billions of people around the world, and many who have it way worse off than I do. So that is a disappointing thing, but we're looking to try and change that mindset. And when I think of the uplifting part of it, it really comes down to, for me, the reality of and an affirmation of the colleagues that I work with, first and foremost, the people that I see on a daily basis that are doing their absolute best to make this situation an incredible situation in any respect, in any situation that's happening, from the teachers to the house parents to my colleagues that are trying to make really tough decisions about the school and the direction of the school in the future. That is uplifting. That is something that when you surround yourself with those types of individuals, it's pretty hard not to be inspired by. So that's part of it. The next stage, the next layer to that, in terms of the inspirational and uplifting aspect of it, is to see how our students are handling themselves. And it's understandable. We've all gone through a grieving process, a grief process, because we're missing each other, because we're missing the routines and the rhythms of the Brentwood year. But our students are so resilient, and they're inspiring to me. When I see those people react to adversity like they've reacted, it is absolutely grit and joy. And I see the blog articles, and I see how our student leaders are during assemblies, and I am just blown away. And so that, to me, in a nutshell, is really that disappointment being far outweighed by inspiration and uplifting messaging and uplifting people that have come out of this situation. So I thank Ian for this opportunity. I thank you all for listening to me drone on, and I just hope everyone stays safe.
I'd like to thank this week's guest, Liam Sullivan, our Deputy Head Campus Life, for joining us for Q&A. Next week, we're going to be sitting down and having a chat with our health professionals and talking about wellness and all that entails with our students not being on campus, but it's also a very stressful time. So please tune in next week for our next Q&A. Have a great weekend.